Instagrammers, how are you all doing? Good day, everyone, and welcome once again to this channel. So today, since I had a leftover material and I didn't just want to waste it, I said, let me do something very simple but useful. So I proceeded to cutting out the material and I marked out 9 inches all around. So we'll be making a little baby purse that your baby girl can wear to match with her dress. So you mustn't use the same material as the lining and the main fabric, right? I'm sure you get me. You mustn't use the same material. You can decide to use a lining and a material for this project. So now I went ahead to cut out 9 inches round from my center base. I cut out 9 inches round. I marked 9 inches round from the center base and I have a circle 9 inches all around from the midpoint. So after cutting out this, I made sure they were all equal and I proceeded to cutting out the handle of the bag. You know, children now, at least let them make small shakara. So I proceeded to cutting out the handle of the bag. I used 7 inches by 1.2 or thereabout. Just anything you feel is okay, appropriate for your child. So I had to cut it on fold since I was going to fold it and sew. So I cut out these 2 pieces of this 7 inches on fold. That's 14 inches when you open it up. So I cut out the second part of it. So after this now, I went on to cut out a long stripe. Something, if you have a bias of the same color, as in the color you'd want to use, you can use bias in this place. Since I did not have bias, I had to make use of what I had available. So I cut out a very long stripe that I'll be using to pass around my small purse, my small bag. So in place of this, you can use your bias. You can cut it as long as you feel is okay for you. So welcome to my sewing table. So I'm going to go ahead now and sew round, front side facing front side. I am closing it up. So I'm going to sew round the edge. I'll sew round everywhere. I'm going to sew round. But if you have maybe like a trimming, something like a design, you can decide to put it in between. Just like I'm showing right now, you can decide to put it in between and sew. So it looks fine from the outside. It's just like a design. Maybe any design you have, you'd want to give it another face. You can use that. Then after sewing now, I'm going to cut out a small portion, a small part where I'm going to turn it out from. You can decide to open it up from where you just stitched. But I discovered most times that opening up there most times leaves the bag looking tattered or somehow. So I decided it is better to open it up from the inside, from the middle. Please make sure wherever you are opening it out from would be the inside of the bag. It would be the inside of the bag, as you can see. So after bringing it out, I went ahead to iron. I pressed it out. After pressing it out, I'm going to mark out 2 inches all around, 1.5 inches first. Then the remaining half inch, I am going to mark out the remaining half inch. Then I'm going to mark out the remaining half inch where my small bias will pass through. That's the remaining half inch in between the 1.5 and 2 inches. So I'm going to mark this all around. I'm going to mark the same thing around everywhere. Now I'm going to go ahead and sew around where I have marked the half inch in between the 1.5 inches and the 2 inches. I'm going to go ahead and sew round there. So after sewing, I went ahead to sew my long stripe. Mamas, I hope you're practicing what you've been watching. Please endeavor to share with me. If you have any question, do not hesitate to drop down the comment section. I know most of us are very busy with school, running up and down to get our babies ready for school. The Lord is your strength. So I'm going to go ahead now and open up a part of this. I'm going to pierce open a part of it where we'll be passing our stripe from. Remember, you can use your bias in place of the stripe. So that's where the hole will be coming out from. So I'm going to go ahead now and sew the stripe. Just watch the way I am going to be sewing it. That's if you don't have bias. This is just like bias. So I folded it into two and I'm going to top stitch on it. I'm going to top stitch the way I've bent it into two. So I'm going to sew around down to the end. So you must be very patient here so you'd achieve neatness. You have to be very patient and careful. Remember, it's a very small stripe, so you have to be patient so you can achieve neatness here. So instead of throwing out those pieces you have at home, or you intend to make a dress for your baby girl, please put this in mind. It would look really beautiful. After making your dress, you just make something for her to hold. It mustn't be this big. It mustn't be this wide. You can make it a smaller purse for her. In place of the 9 inches I used around, you can use 7. It mustn't be big. It just gives her some kind of look. You know, most of these ready-made dresses comes with this kind of purses. So if you can make it for your baby girl, then you can even go ahead and apply appliques to it. You can go ahead to bead the bag, maybe just drop all the shiny stones around the bag. It is so beautiful. All these beads, you can just drop it around the bag. So after stitching all of this, I went ahead to pass my, if you don't have pin, that's the office pin or be safety pin, whichever, the one that has the head. If you don't have that, me, I used broomstick. I don't have strength for wahala. I used broomstick. I just wrapped it with thread. Used thread to wrap this around the broomstick and passed it through the hole I made. So that's the easiest way. You make use of available resources. You don't need to stress your brain. So at this point now, I'm supposed to mark out where I'll be putting the handle of my bag. So now I went ahead and I passed the stripe all round. But before this, I was supposed to show you where I marked the handle of the bag, but I didn't. So you just mark out the handle of the bag, the area where you're supposed to mark out the handle of the bag. You mark them out on both sides. I used 2.5 inches apart on both sides. So after that, I now went ahead and knot my stripes so it doesn't enter through this hole. It doesn't get missing inside the hole. So you will pull it out to the length which is most convenient for you, for the child. The length you feel is appropriate for a child, not too long and not too short. So I cut out and I knotted it twice. So you can even go ahead and burn the hem of it if you don't want stress. So after that, I opened up. Since I didn't show you guys where I marked the 2.5, I'm going to do that immediately. I hope you'd understand with this. So I marked out 2.5 inches apart from the center. Remember, I had notched out the middle of the cap from both sides before I attached the stripe, so it made it easier for me to locate where the midpoint was. So I'm going to go ahead now and mark out 2.5 inches apart. You can make yours 3 inches, you can make it 2.5 depending on what you want. It all boils down to choice. So I marked out 2.5 inches on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead now and attach the handle. As you can see, I've done the other handle. So now you just have to, and I'm going to show you how I did the other handle. Bend it over and sew on those marked points. You bend the mouth of the handle and you sew it in a box-like form. Just the way I'm doing. Just watch what I'm doing and you replicate. Make sure you do not sew on the rope. Make sure you don't sew on the rope where we are pulling the bag out. Make sure you do not sew there so it doesn't affect the bag, because when you sew on that circle there, when you sew on the long stripe we inserted inside that hole, it's going to affect the pulling of the bag. So you be careful not to sew on it. So you can see it's as easy as ABC and our bag is ready. So now if you just want to go extra, you can go ahead and bead. Just use stones, beautify the bag with stones and you're good to go. Then you can just tie the way you want, and that is all. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for watching and thank you for always sticking by. Thank you. Bye.